mean, I've been thinking a lot about when we first started the band. When you're a teenager, you kind of live in the moment. There was no real big plan at all.
I first met Stuart at a Ned's Atomic Dustbin concert when I was 16. He used to have hair, really long black hair down to there, and he was a bit of a goth.
And he had like big, massive para boots on, with like really skin-tight black jeans tucked into them, and a big black German army jacket. And I got introduced to him. I was like, on his jacket he had a David Bowie badge. Is he taking a piss? I'm going to make sure you're not taking a piss with this. I was like, what's the deal with your badge? And he's like, oh, I like David Bowie. I was like, all right, cool. I like him.
My first band played a concert with his band at the time, Dead Cat Motorbike, and I remember he phoned me a couple of months later, and I don't remember giving him my number. He doesn't remember who gave him my number, but yeah, he just asked me if I would be up for starting a band.
Then I didn't see him for ages after that, and then I got a phone call when I was at Glastonbury in 1995. I went with my sister and her pal. I drove down and I came back. My mum was like, somebody called Stuart phoned you, and I only knew one guy called Stuart. I was like, all right, he must be doing music. So I knew he was really musical, you know what I mean? I left his number and I phoned him up. And he's like, do you want to be in a band called Mogwai? And I was like, aye. We thought it'd be a good idea to put, our own record out. Now when Stuart mentioned that to me, I was like, how did you do that? How the fuck did you do it? How can you put a record out? You know what I mean? Like, I was getting my records from HMV. I was like, how do you get from where we are to into people's hands? It was madness to me. I was like, how the fuck?
Played a couple of gigs. Martin got some money for his birthday, which we used to record a couple of songs. I borrowed some money from my sister's boyfriend to make a record, and we sent it to John Peel and he played it.
And that whole thing about just Glasgow being kind of isolated, I suppose, a wee bit from the music scene at that point and all. Like, there was a huge big sort of Britpop thing going on down in London and meant nothing up here really to us. And the labels were looking for bands like that, not bands like us, you know what I mean? So we'll do it ourselves.
Friendly and wet. Sounds dirty. No, wet and friendly. That's worse. I don't know. Like, quite. This is never getting on there, is it? It's definitely. Because I've been in Berlin for so long, I really notice the dampness here. Like, it really gets to me after a while, but the people are just funny. I don't know. That's what I miss about the place. Everyone says that they miss the sort of people are just funny here. I think being based here has helped us a lot. I think it's nice to kind of feel part of the music community. There's a lot of people that are a constant, and it also kind of keeps your feet on the ground. I think that the kind of Glaswegian mentality is quite down to earth, and not everyone in the music world is particularly down to earth. So it's good to be around your friends and to kind of be able to support other musicians and get support from other musicians. And yeah, I'm not sure that's quite so easy in a lot of other places. So yeah, I think it's definitely been a big factor. A lot of it's tradition. I think there's kind of a tradition of people making things, like whether that's buildings or ships or paintings or music, but people tend to make things here, and I don't know, I think that's kind of part of the culture.
We booked a concert first, and then we obviously realised we need a name before we can play the gig, and we just Stuart suggested Mogwai, and we were like, that'll do until we think of something better, just to get the first gig out of the way, and yeah, just never bothered changing it.
Sort of. I wish we'd heard that before we wrote the song titles, because I think Shipment on Ice would have made it as well. Getting the gist that none of these song titles mean anything.
Yeah, titles and names are definitely not our strong points, so
But the people used to get really annoyed with us and say, oh, they must have meaning behind them, and they've never... I can't think of one that has any meaning behind it.
well, that's one of the best things about instrumental music. You don't need to reference anything. I mean, there's no lyrics to refer to, so you can just call it any old nonsense.
I remember years ago, I can't remember which country it was, it might have been France, but they really didn't believe it when we told them that they don't mean anything, and they're always like stuck on at the end.
It really pisses some people off.
If you kind of have like some kind of big, deep idea behind it, and it's not something descriptive, then to actually tell people what you think, it's kind of, yeah, it's taken away from them the opportunity for them to decide what it is. And like, I mean, to be honest, the titles are just so we know what songs to play next at gigs, you know, or for people who are telling someone about a song. It's not really, it's nothing to do with the actual music.